What is good, y'all? Welcome to Cap the Cage. Got my guys here with me, Gerhardt YBB, Harry Mack, BB Harry Mack there. Guys, we haven't had a show in a while, couple weeks now, but it was mainly because we didn't really have alignment in the card, the last one. But we have some, I think, a few ones, a few good ones here on this UFC 287. Man, it's been a good season so far, though. Let me bring up our bankroll here over at FightOdds.io. Up 8.36 units, 29.4% ROI, positive ROI, 17, 19, and 2. Obviously, under 50%, but it's mainly because we got them big odds here. Plus 235 is our average.
That's how you
Last
do it.
card here. Yeah, exactly. Last card here, we were up 1.67 units. Big one here with Leon Edwards. We got a couple losses. We were kind of talking about this Gabriel Santos one where we thought we probably should have won that one. But for the most part, we're doing well. Uh, sort of just chipping away, getting some positive units, fight card by fight card. So that's the way we've been doing it, and hopefully we continue to cash. Um, we got a big one this week. I want to talk to you guys first before we dive into the card. What's one of your favorite fights this week that you guys want to see?
I want to go first because I feel like Harry's going to steal it from my mouth. So I'm going to say it. Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font is
That's
going to
right.
be the best card on this week. What a stylistically pleasing matchup. But yeah, outside of that, I want to hear what Harry's second choice is because that'd be my first.
That's fair, man. That's a good one. That would also be my first pick. I mean, obviously, Izzy Peloton is going to be fucking awesome. That's a tremendously huge fight with very big implications on Izzy's legacy, Pereira's legacy, the middleweight division moving forward. I guess the fight that I'm most looking forward to, if I had to pick one, I would pick GM3 is going to expose Joe Pyfer.
Wow.
It's going to happen. I'm getting big GM3 Muradov vibes from this fight. Gerald is kind of the guy that they choose to be that gatekeeper at 185. Pyfer really hasn't fought anybody yet. I think Gerald's going to lock up a sneaky sub there. I love him at plus money this week.
Shoot,
Wow.
might as well just go straight into it. That's one of the first fights we want to talk about here. We'll bring
How
that
about
up.
that?
We'll bring the screen up, and we'll go with Meerschaert here and Pyfer. I mean, you kind of talked about it, which way you want to go. Uh, Pat, what do you think about this fight here? We see a lot of
Uh,
obviously the experience advantage on GM3 side, right? 50 pro fights under his belt. It's kind of wild to see that. I mean, the number of fights here. Obviously, he's a 9 to 10 years of age gap there between the fighters. I don't know. I guess
I
what do you
believe
think about this fight?
this is a fun fight. I think Harry has a stronger take than I do, a stronger opinion. But Gerald Meerschaert is one of those guys who usually he exposes these prospects like coming up. They always feed on these prospects and he always ruins the hype train. He's always cashing as like an underdog.
Yeah.
GM3 is a tough read for me, but what I don't like is that he gets hit often, he gets dropped often. He comes back and wins. One of the fights that stands out to me is his fight with Dustin Stoltzfus. He goes out there and fights with Dustin, and it looked like he was gassing out. He got the third round submission, but he did not look like himself in grappling exchanges. So I wonder how he's going to hold up having to grapple with a guy like Joe Pyfer. Like I said, Harry has a stronger take than I do on this fight. I think that the line is pretty much appropriately priced. I don't really have a strong take on the number. But I will say this, a submission by GM3 is not going to shock me because we've seen it many times. But a knockout from Joe
27 out of
Pyfer is
35
also not
wins.
going to shock me. So yeah, tough fight to break down. To me, the number's justified. But if I'm having to pick, I'd say that there's more value on the Pyfer side. No offense.
Really? You
Yeah,
think
I
the
think
Pyfer
so.
side's
I
the
think
value
so.
side?
Just because we've seen Meerschaert get dropped and tagged, and he mans through it. But I think that this is kind of a winnable fight. Also, Pyfer's he's not a slouch in the grappling department either. I mean, I don't think he's at GM3's level, but I do think that he could be a little underrated, I think. But it's to be seen. You know what I mean? So overall, though, I don't have a strong take. I'm going to pass on this fight. I'm going to do the right thing. Hand it to Harry. Hand it to you, RC. But
Yeah.
it should be a fun fight. It should be an exciting fight. But
sure.
yeah, no strong opinions for me.
I just
One thing
don't.
that I saw, Harry, before you go into it, they did fight both Foos. They both had a chance to fight him. And obviously this is Contender Series 2020 compared to Meerschaert here, who fought him in the UFC in 2021. So it's a little bit after that. But Pat
You
mentioned
know what
that he
happened?
sees the value side on Pyfer here. Can you kind of dive in onto why Pyfer is the favorite in this spot? Why you think he's the favorite in this spot?
Me or Harry?
Harry, sorry, my bad.
No, I mean, look, I think it's one of those situations where he's a guy with a lot of hype right now, who the promotion is really trying to get behind, right? Be like Joe Pyfer, blah, 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 blah. They put him in the video game right away. Like, he seems to be, Dana's newest toy. But looking at his resume, he hasn't fought anybody remotely near GM3's level, just as far as experience, cage time, all of that shit. There's not anything that Pyfer can do in the cage that GM3 hasn't seen in the cage already. So I think a lot of that price is based on hype. I don't agree. I don't see any value in Pyfer as a favorite. I think all the value in this one is going to be on GM3 as the dog, and especially GM3 by subbed. And I mean, to Pat's point, I wouldn't even be shocked to see Pyfer drop or hurt GM3 and then just manage to get himself into a submission, chasing a finish, diving into GM3's full guard when he's got him hurt, and then bang, before you know it, there's a triangle, there's an arm bar. That's a wrap.
Yeah, we saw that. I forgot which fight it was, but in one of the more recent cards, there was someone that got knocked out. It's basically what you just said. Someone got knocked down. The guy tried to get on top of him, and he kind of just fell into submission and ended up getting the L. I forgot who it was, but I know we just saw it recently.
Right.
But Pat, any rebuttal on that before we move on to the next fight?
Yeah. Okay. So when Harry talks it out, there's a little bit of alignment. I think there would be more value on a GM3 sub than there is on the GM3 money line. Personally,
I agree with that.
So
I think that's the
I would align there, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. But it'll be a fun fight. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. We got Gastelum and Chris Curtis. Curtis, always 30-9 in his pro fights. He'll be. It seems like he'll either win by KO or go the distance. You're not going to see him sub anybody here. Gastelum, though, he hasn't been KO'd at all. If we look at some of the fights that he's had recently, Gastelum, he's lost 5 of his last 6 fights, but most of his losses were to some big names here, similar in size, so no clear advantage there. But where do you guys kind of see this fight going? Let's start with you, Harry.
I cannot for the life of me figure out why Chris Curtis is the underdog in this fight. I've been seeing him at plus 110. That seems to be the consensus price right now. I would cap it either as a pick'em or with Chris Curtis as a slight favorite. So I think you're definitely getting good value on Curtis there. I mean, like you said, Gastelum just has not been in good form lately. He's lost 5 of his last 6. He hasn't really looked great since, honestly, if you want to go all the way back to the Izzy fight, might have been the last time Gastelum looked impressive. And meanwhile, Chris Curtis has been out here picking up very impressive wins. He didn't get the dub against Hermanson, but that was a close fight. I think Jack showed a lot more on the feet than we were expecting there. He was beautiful defensively in the Buckley fight. His striking defense is just so delightful to watch. The way he uses the shell and head movement, he's a very, very hard guy to hit. So I think Gastelum's going to have trouble getting inside on him, landing big strikes. I just don't understand I don't understand the price here. This feels like a misprice to me. I'm riding with the action man, Chris Curtis, all the way.
What do you think about this one, Pat?
Yeah, we're not gonna be eye to eye on this one again. Listen, okay, we go through Kelvin Gastelum's record, and sure, he's lost 5 of his last 6. Those are fights he's supposed to lose. He's not supposed to beat Robert. He's not supposed to beat Jared Cannonier. He's not supposed to beat Israel Adesanya. These are fights where they were set up for Gastelum to lose, in my opinion. Outside of like the Cannonier fight, which was kind of evenly priced.
Darren Till?
Okay, yeah, Hermanson. That's a good point, but that one only lasted like. Yeah, you're right. But that Darren Till was a couple years ago when we thought he was the goods. There was one point where Darren Till was.
Don't we? I don't know who this we you're talking about is.
The consensus was that Darren Till was going to be a good fighter years ago. Fair. Sure, but here's how I kind of see it. Like Chris Curtis, he has a really high guard, but he's kind of low volume, and like his game plan over the past couple of fights, like let's say Joaquin Buckley, is to basically get this guy tired throwing strikes. Buckley's just hooks from hell. That's all he does. He throws so many hooks, and then he gets countered, and that's how Buckley fights, and that's how he loses. Then he goes out there and fights Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen, no chin. Mixes it up very well, but zero head movement. He's like Dusko Todorovic with like a mixture of like, mixed martial arts. Then he fights Rodolfo Vieira. What is he? 3 minutes of gas tank. Wins a decision, but Vieira went 0 for 21 on takedowns. The argument here is, he has superb takedown defense. Kelvin Gastelum doesn't need to take him down to win this fight. What I like about Kelvin is lateral movement. He has a little bit of speed. He has combos. I think he's going to have the output, the volume. This is a great fight overall. This is my second favorite fight on the card. I'm not going to be shocked if Chris Curtis wins, but I'm leaning more towards the Gastelum side, basically via experience. He's not going to get tired like Joaquin Buckley. If anything, this dude's a cardio machine. He may not come off as one, but he can fight a 5-round fight. And I believe his last couple of fights have been 5 rounds. So this is kind of an advantage going towards the Gastelum side of things. I like the time off for him. He's still young. Believe it or not, he's years younger than Chris Curtis. So
that's very funny.
One of those things where, I don't know, man. I think that the public is underrating what Kelvin Gastelum brings to the table. If I'm, I align this fight closer to Kelvin Gastelum being around the minus 150 ballpark. And I know, another shocker, but it sucks to say that. But in hindsight, what is what's his name? Who am I talking about? Okay, so he beat Phil Hawes. I feel like Phil Hawes is probably the best name on his record. And that was another fight where he had to come back. His output just wasn't there. But he knocked him out. He got the job done. But you can't rely on that going into a fight with Kelvin Gastelum where you're going to have to not have the output advantage and rely on a knockout. Kelvin Gastelum doesn't get knocked out. He's like a stone.
He's got that Mexican chin.
He got that Mexican chin. This is going to be a great fight, though. This is going to be a fantastic fight. It's going to be fan-friendly. I don't think it's going to be boring at all. But I have to ride with Gastelum, man. And I know he's been on a skid. But I don't know. I can't back Curtis here. I gotta go with Kelvin. I think that we're getting him at a discounted price. So
just listening to what you guys were breaking down, it seems like this one would probably go the distance for the most part, right? Is that what you guys see as well? I just kind of looked at that, and it just seems like it's the line is at like minus 200 something, so it's kind of tough to take that. But if you feel like you're gonna take the money line on someone or the winner on this one, would you look to just grab the plus money with the decision there, or just kind of would it be the line here?
That's a good observation. I would say that the fight does go the distance. I think minus 200 is also kind of a discount. I don't think that there's finishing equity on either side, except maybe Gastelum's chin has been checked. It's going to crack eventually.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's like
the only thing Chris Curtis just doesn't throw. He relies on those check hooks. His guard's so high, and counter. And the thing is like I just see Gastelum running in circles. I like the fight to go to the distance. I think the finishing upside is more so on the Chris Curtis side.
I agree.
But a guy who's losing a striking fight to Jack Hermanson is not going to be getting my money against a guy who's better in the striking department, like a guy like Kelvin Gastelum. So, I got to go with Kelvin. I think he's the right side. Decision probably. Yeah, I would say so. I say the fight goes the distance for either fighter. Could be a tight, greasy split decision too.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, that makes a lot more sense too. Let's move on to the next one here. We got Rosas Jr. and Christian Rodriguez. This one, there's a lot of hype, obviously, behind the teenager here, Rosas Jr. But Rodriguez, he's kind of been, he has the reach advantage. He's a little bit bulkier. This one, for me, from a side perspective, it's kind of tough. Both of them, as far as experience, right? Not a lot of fights under their belt, but both really young. One thing that I did notice was possibly a look towards the under 2.5 rounds. I feel like this is going to get finished in some way or fashion by someone. I just don't know which side here, but let's go with Pat. Let's start with you here. What do you think about this fight?
First of all, love the under 2.5 look. That's a fantastic look, actually. A lot of people were talking about Rosas Jr. being like the next big thing, and you know what? I'm not going to even give the kid a lot of crap. He's only 18 years old. He fights who's in front of him. All right, yeah, he doesn't. He hasn't fought the best names. Sure, he fought Akan and Jay Perrin his first fight, and maybe the UFC is trying to feed him another win here. But I don't think Christian Rodriguez is plus 200, kind of a dog. I think he's more maybe plus 120, plus 130. I think this is a closer fight than the odds indicate. And I mean, Christian Rodriguez, his last fight was against, I believe, JSP. But he took that fight up a weight class and on short notice.
Weems,
okay.
Right?
Yeah, Weems. And he won that fight. Okay, before that, though, it was a short notice debut.
Correct.
Was it not?
Up a weight class also.
Up a weight class, exactly. So people want to talk about that fight like, it's going to matter. And he held his own in that fight, goes on to beat Joshua Weems. Now
C-Rod was clearly the better fighter on the feet in the Pierce fight.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think the weight and size difference was probably just a little bit too much for him.
It was just, and JSP is one of those animals whose gas tank is going to be reliable.
Right,
I don't know that Raul Rosas Jr.'s gas tank is going to be that reliable. The guy goes balls to the wall from the opening bell. Like, he fights, he strikes, he gets kind of a little carried away with like his kicking game as well, because he's not scared to get taken down. He relies on his jiu-jitsu and his grappling, but I don't think Rodriguez is a slouch on the mat. If JSP couldn't finish him up a weight class, I don't know that an 18-year-old Raul Rosas Jr. is going to be able to do that. I think the value's on Rodriguez here, honestly.
100%.
And I think Rodriguez by submission is a really, really sneaky look.
I like that.
Only because Raul Rosas is not scared to take it to the mat. But again, Rodriguez I don't think he's a slouch. I kind of got to go with Rodriguez, but I'm not going to be shocked if the UFC is just spoon feeding this guy wins, so.
No, I totally hear you, but I agree in the sense that I think C-Rod is a step up from Weems, not from Weems, from Jay Perrin and the other guys Rosas has fought so far. I don't know, man. C-Rod was one of the first fighters that I ever watched in person on the regional scene down up in Philly at a CFFC fight. He fought one of my teammates, Pompos Gregoriou. He beat the fucking brakes off my boy, man. And that was one of the first times that I've seen a kid fight on the regional and been like, that kid is special. That kid is going to be in the UFC very, very soon, sooner or later. And lo and behold, that was what happened. So I agree. I think C-Rod is absolutely the value side here. Rosas also seems to be one of these hype trains. And, I get it. He's 18 years old. It's a good story. He's got great jits, whatever. But I don't know, man. I just don't see what he's done to warrant being a minus 215 favorite over another very, very talented young fighter. I wouldn't be surprised. I think C-Rod will absolutely have the edge on the feet as far as in the striking exchanges. It'll be very interesting to see what happens when it does get to the mat, but I'm not sure Rosas has the wrestling to take C-Rod down. If they get down there, that's where it gets interesting with the jiu-jitsu, with the submission threat, whatever it may be. But I think 100% here, Rodriguez is the value side.
I like it. You guys are kind of talking me into that. Plus that at plus 200, it seems like you don't really have to bet a whole unit or anything to get some value off of it either. All right,
the kid can scrap. At the end of the day, the kid can scrap.
Yeah, we'll see what we can get to on that when we get to the best bet section, or when we start locking in the bets, because I feel like we'll probably have something on this fight here, whether it's the under or even just the Rodriguez side itself. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Holland and Ponzinibbio. This one's interesting, right? Holland, I feel like he has a size advantage here. Ponzinibbio, he's kind of getting up there in age, right? Holland's been finishing his last two fights. Ponzinibbio coming off of a third round KO over Morono. But before that, he did lose three of his four prior fights. It's just like this number here seems like it's a little bit too high on the Holland side. But what are you guys seeing on this one? Is this something that you're looking from a betting perspective at all? Pat, let's start with you here.
From a betting perspective, not so much. I might get, at first I was thinking, man, why is Ponzinibbio a 2-1 underdog? Didn't we just see the story with Stephen Thompson? But Ponzinibbio is not the striker Stephen Thompson is, but he has probably twice the power. I feel like he has to rely on his chances. This is a guy who, was gone from the sport for a really long time for kind of a serious injury, and he comes back and he just really hasn't looked the same ever since.
Mm.
So I just don't know that the old Ponzinibbio is available anymore. I think this win is pretty much set up for Kevin Holland to showcase. And the UFC likes this guy. They want to get behind him. They're throwing on pay-per-view cards. They're giving him main events. He talks. He markets. He gets in fights with George Masvidal in lobbies at hotels. So this is a guy that I feel like the UFC wants to keep around. The price is just not, minus 200. What 250 on Kevin Holland is just ugly.
That's what scared me. I mean, I
it.
can only look towards Holland's way, but it's just that line's kind of scary to
I'm
put
in the same
lay.
boat, boys. I don't think I'm going to be making a play on this one, but I like Holland to win. I think the length is going to be a big problem for Pons. I think he's going to have trouble getting inside and closing the distance. At the same time, a lot of people talk about Kevin Holland as if he's like a real contender at welterweight, or, I just don't really see that personally. I think he's a fun action fighter, could be a fun gatekeeper maybe for the top 15, top 10. I kind of think everybody above that in this division fucking smashes him, especially anybody who can wrestle. I think Ponzinibbio is always going to be one of those what could have beens as far as just what happened with his knee and missing all of that time. He missed what was it, 2-3 years with knee injuries. So kind of got robbed of his prime a little bit there, which is unfortunate. It felt like Pons was really on track to being a big star at one point, way back when in 2015, 2014, whenever the fuck it was. So it's unfortunate the way his career has played out. But kind of to Pat's point, he's 36 years old. He's been in a lot of fights. You're generally past the point where you're making improvements at this point in your career. So, I don't know. I'm not going to fault anybody who throws, half a unit, quarter of a unit on Pons on the puncher's chance. But I think Holland should be able to kind of just point kickbox his way to a pretty easy victory here.
Yeah, definitely agree with you guys there. Just the price is what depends on what you want to lay or whatever.
Right.
And his path to victory. What would his path to victory be? Would it be by decision? You think KO? With Ponzinibbio kind of getting up there in age, maybe his chin gets checked here a little bit. What do you guys think about that? Like, which way? If Holland does win, where do you see it happening? How do you see it happening?
Holland can win wherever. Honestly, we've seen submissions. We've seen where he clubs and sub guys. He can get knockouts. He can win a decision. It's only a 15-minute fight, so he can win a decision. Holland wins wherever, to be honest. He wins however he wants or wherever the moment kind of presents itself. The way Santiago wins is via TKO. But, I'm having a hard time seeing that. But, yeah, Holland probably wins by, I want to say knockout, but that's probably what's going to happen, so I'm going to go submission.
I would say knockout or decision. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next fight here. This is the one that we want to talk about here. Obviously, Yanez, a dope guy. He was on our show a few weeks ago. Gave out a winner too. He had a prediction. He was pretty much spot on there. So that was pretty dope. But when we talked to him on the show too, we asked him what did he think about this fight? What is his sort of how does he want to kind of strategize going into this one? He really wanted to go for that KO, right? He wanted to go for the bonus. Is that how we want to take this as well, guys? Let's start with Harry. I know Harry, that's your boy. You talked to him and stuff. You're the guy that got him on the show. But let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this one?
I got this right here on my desk. The Yanez heavy hitter soap. But Adrian's the fucking homie. Obviously, he's a great dude. He's a great presence in the gym. It's I've had the absolute pleasure of just being able to be in the room with him at Law when he came up here to train and just watching him work and get rounds in with Aljo and Marab and Dennis and all of these guys, man. I think the sky is the fucking limit for this kid. Font, it's two guys who seem to be trending in kind of opposite directions, right? I mean, Adrian's on the come up. He's absolutely laying dudes out. Racking up performance bonuses, while Font, he's lost his last two, lost in pretty bad fashion against Cheeto, took a lot of damage in that fight. He's always had great recovery. I will say, I will give him, where he gets hurt, he gets touched, but he somehow manages to stay in there. But Adrian's got that killer instinct, man. He's just got that it factor, whatever it is, where you look at the Tony Kelly fight. he gets you hurt and he just swarms you. He's all over you. He smells blood in the water. He goes for the kill. So I think Adrian is going to be able to knock Font out. I think he's going to check that chin. And the run towards the Yanez title reign starts here.
Hey, well, Pat, I mean, you think, obviously Font hasn't been KO'd yet, right? But I think we want to look in that direction, though, right? What are your thoughts on Font's chin? Do you think he's able to get you? Do you think Yanez checks him here?
Yeah, I do actually. I think that Font will have some moments of success. Font's not a bad fighter, guys. Like he's really well rounded. Like he has hands too. I just, he also cuts a lot of weight from what Cheeto Vera said. Like Cheeto says that this dude cuts way too much weight and he's gonna hurt himself. And he was right. He did hurt himself against Cheeto. He's hurt himself against Aldo. He's gonna hurt himself against a guy like Yanez. His output is there. His head movement is not. It's kind of been the case with the Boston Cartel. And I just kind of feel that Yanez is going to land a nice body shot. I just see a body shot where it's going to sit down Rob Font and we're going to see
Randy Costa fucking shovel hook
we're
to
going
the
to see
liver.
it. We're going to see it. And, I'm not excited about it for Rob Font, but I'm happy for Adrian Yanez. I like both guys.
For sure.
And sure, we had Adrian Yanez on the show, but I'm not gonna lie, I like Rob Font too. I like his fighting style. I think he's
I like
exciting.
Font too. But I think another thing to consider here is Font's high-level wins have not aged very well. I don't.
That Sergio Pettis win is aging pretty well.
All right, fair. I'll give you that one. That's a good win that aged well. But I'm talking, I guess, more recently with, Cody Garbrandt, not the same dude that he was.
I got you.
Yeah, Marlon Moraes, obviously not the same dude that he was in his prime when those two fought. So I don't know. I like Rob Font too. I think he's fun. He's game. He always brings the action. But I think the price on Adrian is well warranted, and I think he gets him out of there by KO.
Yeah, we might have to look at like the TKO prop on this, in my opinion, just because when we look at measuring MMA, you want to look at upside plus momentum.
Right.
Neither of those are with Rob Font. Both of them are going to be with Yanez. Main card. I think this is one of those.
I don't hate an Adrian and Kevin Holland parlay straight up now that I'm thinking about it.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting one there. I was going to say too, right before we were going to move on to the next one, that it'll be interesting when we get to the betting section, how we tackle this fight, because I know we don't typically like to lay the minus 175 type of stuff. So we'll see what we get to when we get to the betting section here. All right, we got 2 fights left. We got Burns and Masvidal here. Burns, did I get it right? Yeah, Burns and Masvidal here.
I want to go out and say right now, there is no fucking way Gilbert Burns is 5'10". I met him at PFL a couple of years ago. He is like 5'7", 5'8" at best. I had a few inches on Gilbert.
He's like a little bowling ball. He looked like a little bowling ball.
Yeah, bro. Literally, he's like a bulldog, a human bulldog, just short and stout. But there's no fucking. I'm 5'10". There's no way Gilbert is 5'10".
Yeah, that's the way I see him too. He's just fucking bulky as hell. But Masvidal is getting up there in age, guys. That's one thing that I looked at this fight. I know we kind of been talking about this in previous shows, right? We want to kind of fade these older guys here. Obviously, Burns is only a couple years younger or whatever it might be, but for the most part, Burns is coming off of a first-round sub over Magny in January. His last 2 L's were to the hands of Usman and Khamzat. So, I mean, I think
both
those were big
fights.
names there. Exactly. And then we look at the Jorge side, Masvidal side, man, I just feel like he's kind of losing his step there. Obviously, the age factor is big. And he's not as active either, right? I think he's only gotten 1 fight per year the last maybe 3 years. So this is one that I think we might be aligned on this one, if I remember correctly, kind of sharing notes here. But it seems like Burns ITD might be the way to go on this one. But let's start with you here, Pat. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess Burns ITD would probably be the best thing. But the thing is man, Masvidal is. He's I don't want to say he's not good. He's good. He's a good fighter. He does have power. He has hands. He has good takedown defense. That's going to be another important thing in this fight, because Gilbert Burns wrestling, I don't really rate it too highly, to be honest with you. Getting Magny down is not an accomplishment. Magny's 6'5". He could play small forward for the Indiana Pacers today. Like, that dude's huge. So when your hips are so high, you're easy to take down.
Maggie's always been a pretty decent wrestler, though, just to his credit.
He's good at scrambling, but
Right.
the takedowns is not really like, he did really well with what was his name? Michael Chiesa, who was also supposed to fight on this card. He did really well in those scramble situations.
It sucks that fight got canceled. I was looking forward to Chiesa in the lead.
Sucks. God, but he's comfortable being a commentator. Anyways, back to the fights. Masvidal, he has that power. If you're gonna play him, you play him by KO, and I think you get better value by Masvidal via KO. Gilbert Burns, we have seen his chin checked, but I don't know. I don't know that I'm relying on Masvidal to necessarily do it.
You can't, man.
Right? Like,
you can't anymore. I think
we talked about it too with the. We talked about it too, guys, with the age gap, right? Or with the age here. Once they hit a certain age, right? When they get older, they kind of fall quicker. You know what I mean? Like
and bigger than age, I think, is cage time. And you look at how much time Masvidal has spent in the cage in his career, plus fighting in fucking Kimbo Slice's backyard. That's a lot of miles.
Right. You remember how when we talked about Kamaru Usman started the Akon fighting in Africa, where he's working on a different promotion. Well, Jorge Masvidal is doing the same thing. Dude's going to court like every week for assault. He's got that game bred boxing that he's been working on. What if his mind is like elsewhere?
I mean, that isn't completely there, right?
Exactly.
It's kind of like McGregor effect. He doesn't need fighting anymore.
He doesn't really need it though. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need fighting. I feel like Gilbert Burns is the hungrier fighter. I think Gilbert Burns will probably win, but I'm just not too crazy about the price tag. I don't rate his wrestling too highly. His grappling's elite for sure. But
I was gonna say elite submission and jiu-jitsu game.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I don't want to touch this fight. I'm gonna watch it as a fan. And I'm actually rooting for Masvidal to pull off the upset, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind upset wins. A win in the 305. I just don't see it. But
I would
I'm
just
rooting for
fucking
it.
hate that because then I know Masvidal would jump the fucking line and get the next title shot. I know that's what would happen. And Leon would chew him up. Just so we can be clear, Leon would absolutely fucking chew Masvidal up at this point in his career. But
for sure, yeah.
The way that I see Masvidal right now is he's a guy who's a career journeyman, who was a high-level journeyman and probably could have been, was probably a gatekeeper for the top 5 at 170 at his best. But I never personally really rated him as a title contender or a real legitimate challenger. I think he capitalized on two really nice knockouts that have not aged well at all in Darren Till and Ben Askren. And then, he got his money fight with the Diaz fight. And then he got fucking washed in both of the Usman fights, got washed by Colby. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't think he was ever necessarily anything that special to begin with. I think he kind of struck while the iron was hot, so to speak, rode into superstardom, which good for him. Get that bag, King. Get your fucking money. I respect that. But I think Gilbert is a legitimate elite welterweight right now. I don't think that of Masvidal.
That's fair.
And also, 38 years old, once you get knocked out, you don't really get... you can't really expect Masvidal to come in and look better than he's looked in his last couple fights this weekend, right? So I think Gilbert will find the finish, whether it's catching Masvidal on the chin or wrapping up, taking the back in a scramble and sinking in the rear naked. I like Burns to finish the fight at -105.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Harry. I think we'll see what we do in the best bet section, but I'm definitely with you there. When I sent out my notes, that was the way that I was looking as well. So we'll see if we can actually make a play on that one. That's last fight, main event here. We got Pereira and Izzy. This one obviously is the second fight here in the UFC, but they've had multiple fights before, obviously, and it seems like just Pereira got his number, man. What do you think about this one, Harry? I can only look towards Pereira's way here. Like I said, I feel like he just got his number.
Poetan plus money. Also, the same exact spot that we saw in the Usman-Edwards fight, where I'm blanking on the exact statistic, but basically fighters who get knocked out in their previous fight are about 50% more likely to get knocked out in their next fight. And that number goes up in title fights. You're very unlikely, statistically, to regain your title after losing it by knockout. So you take all of
real quick, Harry. There was another stat in the same fashion where the champion that lost and is a favorite in the rematch, they tend to lose as well, and that's the same situation we see. Yeah,
exactly. So all of the statistics, all of the trends. I think you're crazy if you pass up Pereira at plus money. Personally,
at plus money. Yeah,
I think you have to do it. You have to do it. I'll probably take him by KO too, because that's that left hand is obviously the most obvious path to victory for him. But I think Pereira is a must bet this weekend, personally.
I think Pat, you're gonna be on the island here, or are you with us?
Under 4.5. That's what I like. I like the under 4.5.
I don't hate that.
Izzy mentioned that he wants to go for it. You know, he's gonna go for it. He's got to go forward because he's playing. He's reading too much into Pereira, and
that
you
was
know
a
what?
big
You have
problem
to.
of his in the last fight. He was so quick to concede ground. He so easily let Pereira take ground, and there were four or so times where Pereira backed Izzy up against the cage and threw that same left hook that finished the fight, and it came a fucking nut hair away from landing. Probably 3 times before he hit the kill shot in the fourth round, at the end of the fight there. So Izzy's gonna have to change up the game plan, like you said, Pat. He's gonna have to come forward, has to fight more aggressively, and I just don't know if he can do it.
No. But that's the thing. He's gonna have to win the fight. But that's why I like the under 4.5 because you're gonna get caught.
Agree.
You know,
I agree. He's either gonna have it's kill or be killed. He's gonna have to go out on the sword.
Exactly.
That's what happened. Like towards the end of the fight, like you were mentioning, Harry. It seems like he was more content in just trying to get the decision, and you didn't see a sense of urgency, right? You didn't see the sense of urgency on his side, but then you did on Pereira's side, and that kind of killed him, right? That killed him.
Izzy was having his most success when he was coming forward. He was firing the 1-2. He was landing those big, long, linear punches, those long, straight shots, utilizing the reach advantage against a big fucking dude in Pereira, right? So the game plan for Izzy is clear as far as what he's going to have to do to win. It's just a matter of will he be able to execute it. Pereira might just be the fucking boogeyman, dude. Like he is the most elite level hater I have ever seen, and I have, as a miserable fucking prick myself, I have so much respect for it.
Oh god! All right. Anything else on this one before we move on to picking the bets here?
I do want to see Pereira win, only because I want to see him go up and avenge Glover Teixeira's loss to Jamal Hill. Do you know how bad? Like, you know how much that fight would sell? Like, that'd be a great fight.
That's a storyline for sure.
I think that there's storylines.
He would fucking smoke Jamal Hill just for the record.
I think so too, but I'm curious to see what those odds would be. Pereira's gonna go up, guys. He's gonna go up in weight class. He does. He's 185, cutting weight, but he cuts an unhealthy amount of weight. That dude could fight at heavyweight. So
I think they how he makes 85.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think there's a lot of pressure behind that too, right? There's a lot of pressure from just like the fans and media talking about like he's cutting too much weight. He's sort of that weight bully type of thing. So maybe that does happen. I can definitely see that happening.
I like the storyline behind a Pereira win more than I do in an Adesanya. I'll leave it at that.
For sure. It would also just be so funny to come into this division, get your title in 3 UFC fights or whatever, beat Izzy twice, and then just be like, fucking peace, I'm out. And then, like, I mean, I don't know what the fuck you do at 185 after that, but that would be awesome.
That'd be the most potent thing ever.
That's actually a dope storyline, yeah, for sure.
Let's get on even if Izzy gets the belt back, you're still not that dude.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense to me. All right, let's move on to the best bet section here. This is our favorite part, guys. This is where we got to make our money.
Getting in the lab.
All right, so going back to our bankroll page here at FightOdds.io, 8. We're up 8 units again, like I mentioned earlier, but we're gonna go in and try to put our bets in there. So if we go to this one here, we go to where are the odds? I already forgot how to get to the odds page. Oh, there it is. It's been a while. There it is. All right, so we got the first one. The first one, I believe that we had some type of alignment on was the Rodriguez and Rosas fight. A couple of ways that we were looking at it was towards the under and also towards the dog here, Christian Rodriguez. How do we want to tackle this fight here?
Under 2.5 at minus 120 seems like value to me. At minus 120, I really like that.
As well.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic number. Um, Harry, what are your thoughts on a unit there?
I'm all over it.
Yeah, I like that. That's dope. Let's do that. I like Christian Rodriguez at the number, but I'm probably not going to put a full unit on it. I just think that the fight will be more competitive. My issue with backing him at a full unit is that the UFC knows what they're doing, spoon feeding him. Like they're going to make him Sean O'Malley, basically.
I have no problem with half a unit on C-Rod, but I got to throw something there.
It looks like money's coming in on him too, because he was a bigger dog from what I remember. So it looks like these odds are pretty updated. I remember seeing him at like plus 220 earlier in the week.
Yeah.
So we got
listen, it won't be surprising.
200 on 5 dimes. We could take a half unit on that. I would be good with that one.
Perfect. Regardless, I think we're all in agreement that C-Rod is absolutely. If you're picking a side in this fight, that's the undisputed value side. Yeah,
100%. All right, so let's go back here. We have Yanez was another one. Obviously, I think we wanted to figure out how to back this one, and also the thought of maybe doing a Holland and Yanez parlay. Is that right? Moneyline parlay.
I would like that straight up, but otherwise, I think Adrian inside the distance is probably the move. I like Adrian by KO, but listen, as somebody who has watched Adrian grapple with the likes of Merab and Aljo and incredible high-level grapplers, that dude can roll. He's got very underrated jits. I'm pretty sure. He was a black belt under Saul Solis. Rest in peace. So the only thing that worries me is Font getting hurt and Adrian chasing him to the ground and maybe pulling off a little club and sub or taking the back or something like that. Otherwise, I'd say just play the KO. But if you can get plus money on Adrian inside the distance, I think that's a great bet.
We got a plus 140 here. We got plus 140 there.
Say less. Give me that.
Yeah, I think inside the distance is probably the way to go as well.
Oh yeah, especially by KO is plus 165. So for 25 points of juice, give me the coverage just in case there's a sub. Absolutely.
We are all aligned on this one. We want to go full unit.
I'm with it.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's only the right thing to do. He's a friend of the program.
Usually when we do all alignment, we do a full unit. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't want to go above that.
Yeah.
I like it. Do we want to? I know we're taking. Do we want to double dip on the under here? Because it's only minus 105, but it's on you guys if you guys want to do that. Because obviously we already got Yanez by KO. I mean, sorry, by inside the distance, but I
would back off double dipping.
Yeah, I think if I make another play in this fight, it'll be that Adrian Holland straight up parlay.
All right, we'll get back to that one then. All right, so the other one that we that we talked about, so we were kind of opposite on Gastelum Curtis, right? If I remember correctly, we're opposite.
Yeah, we all have different takes.
I think Meerschaert were we opposite on that as well? Were you guys opposite on that one as well?
We were, but what's the GM3 by sub number? Because I think I could talk Pat into like a quarter of a unit on that.
If it's like plus 200, then I would be interested, but
I'd imagine it's probably
all right. So Meerschaert inside the distance itself is plus 300.
So what is he by sub?
By sub specifically is plus. It's the same shit. Plus 300.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
very funny.
Then you're getting more value on the ITD. If you're getting ITD, then
I would absolutely throw like a quarter of a unit on that if you guys are down.
Yeah, I would say that there's more value on that ITD than there is his money line. I know, like
100%. He's got one path to victory, and it's a submission.
Yep.
You want to go? What are we doing? A quarter unit or a half unit there?
I would do a half unit, but I know Pat isn't 100% sold. So if we want to do a quarter, that's fine with me too.
That's on you. I'm kind of in alignment there with Harry, but it's on Pat. What do you want to do here?
Damn, it's all on Pat. Yeah, all right. We'll go half a unit.
Let's go half a unit there.
So yeah, RC, bullying works.
I'm just gonna say though, it's gonna shock me if Joe Pyfer knocks this guy out. It is not gonna shock me one bit.
I won't be shocked either, but I think we're on the value side. I think
we are because Joe Pyfer by knockout at like minus odds is not
right.
I'm not interested. Come on, yeah. Okay, fine. I'm talking.
All right, we got a half unit on that one. All right, so the other one was Masvidal Burns here. I'm in alignment with Harry on the the Burns ITD. I did see it at plus 100 yesterday. Now it's at minus 115, so the money's coming on that side.
Yeah, I got minus 105 earlier.
Okay.
So there's movement
Yeah, I
there
saw
for
plus
sure.
100 though. Seems like it's going in that direction again. Pat, this is on you. What you want to do here?
Yeah, you're not bullying me into this one. I'm gonna leave that one up to you guys. Whatever you guys want to throw on that, I'm gonna step away from this. I'm gonna watch this fight as a fan because nothing in this fight will shock me. So yeah, y'all go ahead.
So obviously we can't do a full unit because we're not all three aligned, but I'm down for a half unit, Harry, if you are.
Say less.
All right, let's do it.
Also, zumped up and I can't pronounce that shit. Equanimus, Equinamius. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for the comments. Appreciate
you.
y'all.
All right, the last one is the main event, I believe. So we got Pereira and Adesanya. How do we want to tackle this one, guys?
Under 4.5 is my favorite spot. Under 4.5 is my favorite spot. I don't like any price tag on any of the money lines. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I just think it's appropriately aligned. I get the history, the historics. I get all of that. But is he at minus, like, big scope, bigger picture? Is he at minus 130 against any fighter? Just sounds delicious, right? I get it's Alex Pereira. But yeah, those are all the reasons why I feel like the under 4.5 just is the better look for me. I'm not going to be shocked if he drops Pereira and finishes this fight, guys. You know, I know we haven't seen it, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe Izzy's discounted, but we'll see Saturday. Under 4.5 is my favorite spot.
Harry, what are your thoughts on this one? It kind of aligns with the KO here on the Pereira side. So
exactly. So I don't hate the under there by any means because yeah, if it goes the way I think it's gonna go, that under is also gonna hit. I still, like I said, I think Peloton is basically must bet at plus money as a champion coming off of a knockout. Like you said, RC, champions who lose their belt by KO don't tend to win the following fight. Fighters who lose their previous fight by KO tend to perform more poorly in the following fight. Mm-hmm. It's just a perfect storm for Peloton plus money, in my opinion.
So for me, I'm probably gonna take that personally. I'm gonna take Pereira personally, but I'm good with the alignment on the under here. We can get minus 125 at Bovada under 4.5.
Feed me.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go the distance. That's my favorite spot.
I agree. If the only way it goes the distance is an Izzy win.
Yeah, Izzy can't fight like that though. He already learned his lesson. You can't fight doing your little calf kicks again. You know.
I will say though, I think the first fight was a lot more competitive than people make it out to be. You know what I mean? People make it out to be like Izzy was kind of running away with it. And yeah,
no. That was a close fight. That was a close fight.
That was a competitive fight. Pereira landed some big fucking shots even before the knockout. He had the takedown was nice.
Yeah, had it gone the distance though, Izzy would have won.
Oh,
like
100%.
Just on the actual scorecards that were submitted, he was up heading into the 5th round.
But I feel like people do revisionist history on that fight where they're like, oh, it was this insane comeback. Pereira was getting washed up on, and it's like, no, dude, that was a pretty competitive fight.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
All right, now I got to figure out how to get to the parlay. All right, so I pulled up Yanez and Holland parlay, moneyline parlay. It is plus 120. Plus 120.
I don't hate it.
What you thinking, Pat?
I'm not gonna bully me into this. We already got we got Yanez inside the distance at plus 140. That already kind of just. I don't trust Kevin Holland, guys. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't trust him.
Fair.
You don't trust
dude does stupid shit. Like he had, he took Stephen Thompson down. What does he do? He gets right back up. What are you doing, Kevin? Yeah, I'm not. I don't really like those little parlays with untrustworthy fighters. I would do something more like Yanez and somebody else, but Kevin is just one of those. He concerns me, man. He concerns me a little bit.
One bet that we didn't
earlier. I don't see the Kevin Holland championship contender guy people
Yeah.
talk about. I don't see that at all. I think
exactly.
he's a fun action fighter, and that's it.
One fight that we didn't talk about that I am actually taking personally is Jacqueline Amarin to win by sub. But
I
if
love
we
it.
do a money line, if we do a money line parlay, we could probably get around the same price. I mean, pretty close to the same price with Amarim and Yanez. But that's on you guys.
I'll just be completely honest. I have no interest in that use. I'm more.
Jacqueline,
I'm not really too big and like two pick parlays, two fight parlays, only because you're relying on outcomes from different people. And Amorin is making her UFC debut against. I don't have an opinion on that fight. I think Sam Hughes is tough as nails. Yeah. But I will say that what we've seen on tape, Amorin is pretty solid. Like, she fights to finish. So, but just fighting soccer moms doesn't tell me much against UFC level competition.
Yeah,
you know.
All I can tell you guys is that the Mad Lad parlay this weekend is going to be fucking crazy.
What is the Mad Lad parlay?
I do it every week. It's just an absolutely insane parlay. I hit for like 17 grand on the Ngannou Gane fight with one. It's a shot. You're taking a fucking shot. So I think it'll probably be GM3 by sub, Adrian inside the distance, Chris Curtis straight up, and Poatan straight up. And I think on those 4 fights, I will probably get somewhere around plus 4,000.
That was GM3 sub, Curtis on the money line, right? Pereira on the money line, and Yanez ITD.
Yeah.
Damn, Harry.
That's going to be the Mad Lad, and it's going to be tasty. It's going to be
Mad
tasty.
Lad. I'm going to do my own version, but with Kelvin.
Okay.
We'll call it the Mad Pat parlay.
The Mad Patter.
All right, so we got the card here. This is our card for UFC 287. We got Meerschaert here to win inside the distance at a half unit. That's plus 300. Rosas Jr. and Rodriguez under 2.5 here. Full unit there at minus 105. We got a half unit on Rodriguez at plus 200. Yanez to win inside the distance at a full unit plus 140. Burns inside the distance at a half unit plus minus 110. And then we got Pereira Adesanya under 4.5 rounds at a full unit there. So that's our card, guys. I like it. I definitely like it as well. This card here. So hopefully we cash again. Like I said, this is what we do here at FightOdds.io. This is our profit from the start of the year plus 8 units. Let's get some cash this weekend, guys. Good luck with all your action. Till then, Pat and Harry and myself, we'll see you guys next week. Good luck. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Peace.